Hi everybody. It's Monday and I hope you all are having a wonderful day. And I hope you definitely do not have the Monday blahs that can hit sometimes. So I am planning on doing a recipe later in this week, maybe early next week. I'm not 100% sure exactly where we're going to go with that. It depends on the ingredients that I may have to purchase or may not. We don't know yet. So what I want to talk to you about is something that I think I glazed over in the past couple of videos. And nobody's asked me about this, but I feel that maybe some people might want to know. And that is how Aaron and I handle relationship struggles and relationship stressors and arguments and, things that happen to come up in real relationships. As you know, we have been together over 2 years. And in that 2 years, we have formulated such a strong bond with one another, friendship and otherwise. He is my best friend. He is also the person that drives me crazy the most. There are so many things I love about him. And ironically, the things that I love about him are also the things that drive me insane about him. These are not insurmountable situations. We have gone through our share of experiences in the past, and I think that made us the people that we are today. Without those experiences, we wouldn't have come to a frame of mind to know what we're going to accept in a relationship and know how we like to be treated versus what we will just not tolerate. And that only comes from experience. You can't have a relationship in early on and that stays that way consistently. There's going to be some complacency. There's going to be some level of, nah, I just don't like you today situation. We have found through those experiences, we found us. We found each other. We are not perfect people by any stretch of the imagination. We will argue. We will argue about the dumbest things. For instance, we both like to play the computer game The Sims. We both enjoy it. I prefer The Sims 3 over The Sims 4. However, I own both. So if you play those games, you know exactly what I'm talking about. There are times I can go literally months without playing the game, and then there are times I can't get off the game. Like, I can't walk away from it. He's the same way. He is the same way, but we have one computer. So a lot of the argument lately has been, whose turn is it? Really, it's that childish, but it happens. We are two big kids who happen to love each other very much. And amongst all of that, though, there's a lot of passion. So if I'm doing something that he doesn't necessarily like or agree with, he will let me know in a very passionate way, and I will let him know in a very passionate way. Does that mean that we have, arguments that are civil? No. No. Let's be real. No, I don't think in the most loving relationship you could ever have a civil argument. We have very loud debates. We have very impassioned arguments about silly things like computer games. It just it just happens that way. That's all. I think we did the footwork to eliminate a lot of the bigger problems in the very beginning when we were deciding where each other fit in each other's lives. And that's important. You have, in my opinion, for a relationship to work, you kind of have to be, you may not necessarily have to have the same goals because you are two different people, but at least you have to have the respect and the understanding of one another and to help see that goal for that person through. Like, offer them the support. And if you can't be that supportive person, then that says a lot about where your relationship is. It says a lot about where you want to go in life. Like, when we met each other, we talked about the big issues. We talked about whether or not we wanted to have more children. Both of us were at a point where we really didn't want to have any more children. We were happy with the two, because we both have two each. So we were happy with the kids that we already had. So I think if I didn't have children and I wanted a relationship with him, I would have to understand that he didn't want children, but then he would have to understand that I didn't have children and that maybe that might be an issue later on because I may want them. So those are, I think, bigger issues that could be deal breakers for some people. When you're at a point in your life, like he's 48 and I'm 42, and we're both at an age where most people either physically can't have children or they've had children. Now it's time to focus on the children that you do have and maybe have a loving, lasting relationship in the process. And that's where we were. We both were at that point. I've said in past videos that neither one of us wanted to get married when we got together, and that was the truth. What we wasn't counting on with one another is we had past relationships where complacency was a thing, where, oh, I can live with this person, that I can, basically saying, I can tolerate this person, I can tolerate this, it's tolerable. And I didn't know that what I really wanted, and he didn't know that what he really wanted was somebody that he can't live without. Not somebody that you can just live with, but somebody that you can't live without. And that's what we found with one another. And when those feelings became so overwhelming, where we were both feeling that I can't live without him, I was feeling that. And he was saying I can't live without her. And that, I think, is when we decided, you know what, maybe we should get married because we're not going anywhere. We're in this for the long haul. We're in this forever. You know, we're going to be that little old couple that you see at the stores where, you know, she's telling him he needs to take his back medication, and he's telling her, you know, that she's got to take her pressure pill or something to that effect. You know, that's us in like 30 years, maybe 40. Let's hope 50, but that's kind of pushing it. But still, that is where we saw our life. That is where we saw our future with one another. And, you know, in the past, it shouldn't be an indicator for where you're going in the future. If anything, it should be kind of like a guide to view objectively to see where your mistakes were. Everybody focuses on other people's mistakes in relationships. Like, I'll hear this about so many people saying, well, you know, I was with this guy and he did X, Y, and Z to me, or I was with this girl and you'll never believe what she did to me there. But they don't own their part of the story. And I've always been curious about that other side, because the reason why is if you can't be open and honest about your past mistakes and what you did to possibly help or encourage that behavior from somebody else, it says a lot about where you are, and maybe you may not be ready emotionally or mentally for a relationship that will be what you need, not what somebody else's need. You know, One thing that a lot of people have a hard time with is your relationship is yours. It's not for somebody else to weigh in on. It's not somebody else's experience. Okay, it's yours. And what you choose and who you choose to weigh in on that makes a difference. Can you be brutally honest about the mistakes that you've made in the past? And can you learn from them? My thing has always been, if you can't acknowledge the mistakes that you have made in a past relationship or in any type of relationship, in a friend relationship, in a loving relationship, or even in any type of relationship, if you can't own those mistakes, then those mistakes are really going to be setting the path to continue. And it's not about putting your problems or your dirty laundry out there. It's not about that. It's about truly being honest with where you're coming from, with who you are. And if you can't be honest with yourself, how do you expect others to be honest with you? You know, Aaron and I do not have a perfect relationship. We have love, understanding, and respect for one another. And we come from a place of honesty. He can sit here and tell me all the mistakes that he ever made in past relationships, and so can I. And we've learned that through the past, we need to accept with ourselves that we're not perfect people, and that there may have been bad situations and there may have been bad things that happened to us. But what did we do to contribute to that? What did we do? Because sometimes, a lot of the times, when people are not nice to you, it's a reaction to you. And it may be something that you may not know that you did. And when people come to you and tell you you did X, Y, and Z, you have to own that, even if your perspective of the situation is not what they're saying. These are their feelings. These are their perceptions of what you did. So you can't tell somebody that their feelings are right or wrong. You just have to say, okay, so this is their perception. This is what they're telling me that I'm doing. Is there a way that I can rein that back in? Is there a way that I can have a conversation as to maybe what they are doing that's inciting this? Or is there a way that I can have this conversation where I can be completely honest and say that this is the reason why I react this way? For me, I have a lot of relationship anxiety. I have a lot of insecurities in the sense that I've never had a relationship like this, that there was so much trust and there was so much respect and there was so much love all at the same time. I've had that, but not at the same time. In the past, I have had relationships where there was trust, but there was no respect and there was no love. And I have had relationships where there may have been love and they thought that I was a great person, but they didn't trust me, nor did they respect me. So I really feel that those are the three big factors that can make or break a relationship. Like I said, my relationship is not perfect, and I can't recall a lot of arguments that were not nice between Aaron and I. Because even when we're mad at each other, we don't disrespect one another. If he's acting a certain way, I will tell him, you are acting this way, and I want to know why. And sometimes he's not ready to do that, and he'll get defensive. And we talk about it. And sometimes we talk about it for days. And sometimes it's not something that, we can identify right then and there because of the heat of the moment. And the point is, though, we have a willingness to work through this. We have a willingness to work through whatever pitfalls may come our way, because we do love each other, we do respect each other, and we do trust one another. This is not an expert advice type of situation. So I don't want you to think that I'm coming to you with all kinds of expertise. This isn't. This is just what I found that works for me and that has failed for me in the past. And I should only look at the past as a guide to keep myself in check, right? So I can move forward and have the future that I want with the man that I love. And that's all that is. There was so many similarities when we got together. It's really hard to pinpoint differences because we think pretty much on the same page with everything when it comes to parenting, when it comes to our cats, when it comes to just wanting to take a lazy day. Like him and I, we're not big on fancy dates. We don't have a lot of money to do those things. So we do still find ways to spend time with one another, to make time for one another. And that's the key. Like I said, we like to play The Sims. We have created whole towns together. And some people will say that's foolish or that's childish or that's this or that's that. That's us spending time together. The last weekend, the royal wedding, we watched it, but we made fun of it. We made fun of the hats. We made fun of everything. Now, I'm not trying to offend anybody who really likes the royal family and it's a big deal to them. Like, I understand that. My grandmother, she loved the royal family, and I was like 5 years old when Princess Di and Charles there got married, and 4 o'clock in the morning, and we are watching the royal wedding. And growing up at the edge of Maine, where you can see Canada right across the bay, I watched it on a TV channel that was Canadian broadcast TV. So we watched it all, the before and after show of it, and I think it went on forever. But so I get that. My grandmother loved the royal family. So, I understand it, but we had a lot of fun. Just let's be real. Some of those hats, they look like they stole them from a peacock. Really, poor peacock. Anyway, so I'm really trailing off. One of my habits is I'm not very focused. So I will have lengthy conversations with Aaron, and I may be just talking about one particular small subject, and it turns into this whole thing where I'm just like, what was I talking about? And that happens a lot here, as you guys know. I'm trying to get better with it. In fact, this morning I have made and deleted at least 25 videos because I want to put across the message that for Aaron and I, it works for us, but what works for us may not work for somebody else. But I just know, being 42 years old, being divorced, and having children, and having relationships before I was divorced, it taught me so much about myself. And don't ignore what your relationships with your friends, with your family, with boyfriends or girlfriends, don't ignore what those can teach you. And don't ignore your flaws either. You really need to own them because it says a lot about where you want to go in the future. Some people don't want a relationship. Some people don't want to have that relationship again because of fear or whatever. And that's perfectly okay. If whatever you choose, if you're totally happy in it, in that decision, not in that choice, in that decision, whatever you choose to do, it should be respected. And if there's somebody in your life that's not respecting that, you have to question where you really want to go. If somebody is being extremely disrespectful, I know what I do on YouTube. If somebody's being disrespectful in the comments, I can remove them and block them. You can't do that sometimes in real life, and sometimes you can, but it's a lot harder to do in real life. Where am I going with this? I don't really know. I just know that Aaron and I are works in progress, and we accept that. And we accept the changes, and we accept the growth with one another, because we love and respect one another, and we are looking forward to our future together. And he's somebody I cannot live without. And I get excited every day he comes home. I get excited every weekend that we have together. And I am so happy with where our future can go. It makes me excited. It's so funny. I'm 42 years old, and when I met him, I felt like I was a teenager all over again, because that feeling, and that has not changed. Not saying that it won't in the future. Just saying that every day that I'm with him, those feelings become stronger and stronger and stronger. Every day I'm with him, I am more excited about the next day. And we've gone through some financial problems. We have gone through car problems. We have gone through all kinds of other problems. Our life isn't perfect. But the one glimmer of hope that we have is us being there for one another through all of this. And that is the glue that's probably, I don't want to say probably, it's pretty important. It's not the most important, but it's pretty important. So this is actually turning very rambly. So before I get discouraged with myself and delete this to try to give you the best video I possibly can, I think I'm going to end it here. And I hope you all have a wonderful day. And I'm keeping my fingers crossed, and hopefully by the end of this week, maybe early next week, we'll have a recipe. And until next time, guys, live, laugh, and love. And if you have any questions, you can shoot them to me. It's okay. I'll get back to you. And I will, because that's what I do. I wouldn't be doing this if I didn't expect or anticipate feedback. So anyway, I rambled off there again. I will go, and I hope you have a wonderful day.